You're carrying something heavy, and it's not yours to carry. Every sharp word someone threw at you, every time you were disrespected and said nothing, every moment you replayed a conversation that already ended, you're holding all of it, like stones in your pockets, getting heavier with each step. And the worst part, you think this is just how it works, that some people are calm and some people aren't, that anger is in your DNA, that being bothered is the price of caring. But let me tell you what's really happening. You're not angry because the world is broken. You're angry because no one ever taught you how to be unbreakable. Think about yesterday. Someone said something that got under your skin. Maybe it was small, maybe it was huge, doesn't matter. What matters is that hours later, they were living their life and you were still burning, still composing comebacks in your head, still feeling that tightness in your chest. They moved on. You didn't. And that's the pattern, isn't it? Different faces, different words, same trap, same reaction. You promise yourself you'll stay calm next time, but next time looks exactly like last time. The names change, but the script stays the same. Here's what no one tells you. Your peace isn't something that gets stolen. It's something you give away, voluntarily, repeatedly, to people who don't deserve it and situations that don't matter. But what if I told you there's another way? That 2,000 years ago, men who faced wars, betrayals and empires falling apart figured out how to stay calm through all of it. Not by pretending, not by suppressing, but by mastering something most people never even think about. 6 habits. Ancient, tested, powerful, not complicated, not mystical, just brutally effective at making you someone who cannot be shaken. Not because life stops provoking you, but because you stop taking the bait. If you're ready to become unshakable, type, "I refuse the bait," in the comments. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that nothing can steal your peace anymore. Someone tries to provoke you, and instead of that familiar surge of anger, you feel nothing but calm. You observe their behavior with curiosity rather than rage. You see their words for what they really are, just sounds in the air that have no power over your internal state. Picture yourself moving through your day with this unshakable foundation. Traffic doesn't bother you. Rude people don't derail your mood. Unexpected problems arise, and you handle them with clarity instead of chaos. You've stopped being reactive and started being sovereign. This isn't some fantasy. This is what happens when you master these habits. You become the person who walks into tense situations and somehow makes them calmer just by being there. People start asking you how you stay so composed. They wonder what your secret is. But the real transformation is internal. You sleep better because you're not replaying conflicts in your mind. You have more energy because you're not burning it all on anger and resentment. Your relationships improve because you've stopped taking everything personally. You discover that most of what used to bother you was never actually about you in the first place. This is the after state. This is what the Stoics achieved. And this is exactly where these 6 habits will take you. The gap between where you are now and where you want to be isn't as wide as you think. It just requires you to build a bridge. So how do you get from constant anger and chaos to genuine unshakability? The answer lies in 6 specific habits that the Stoics practice daily. These aren't complicated. They don't require you to retreat to a monastery or spend hours in meditation. What they do require is commitment and consistency. Each habit builds on the previous one, creating a foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. Think of them as layers of armor for your mind. The first habit protects you from external provocations. The second trains you to control your reactions. By the time you reach the sixth habit, you'll have constructed an inner fortress that's completely impenetrable to chaos. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the ancient world, used these exact practices to maintain his peace while running an empire, fighting wars, and dealing with betrayal. Epictetus, who started as a slave, used them to find freedom even when he had no physical liberty. If these habits worked for them in those circumstances, imagine what they can do for you. Let's build your bridge. Let's start with the first habit that will fundamentally change how you experience provocations. The first habit is learning to see that nothing is inherently good or bad. Events are neutral. What makes them painful or pleasant is entirely your judgment about them. This sounds simple, but it's revolutionary. Right now, when someone insults you, you experience that insult as an objective attack. It feels like they've thrown a punch and you've been hit. But here's the truth that will set you free. Words are just sounds. Actions are just movements. The person who cut you off in traffic didn't ruin your morning. Your interpretation of their action ruined your morning. Epictetus said it perfectly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Every single moment of anger you've ever experienced came from your judgment that something shouldn't have happened. Someone shouldn't have said that. The situation shouldn't be this way. Life should be different. But what if you stopped arguing with reality? What if, instead of immediately labeling every inconvenience as bad, you paused and recognized that it's just an event with no inherent emotional charge? Here's how you practice this. The next time something bothers you, catch yourself before the anger fully forms. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? You'll discover that you've added layers of interpretation. They cut you off, and you decided it means they're disrespectful. Your co-worker was short with you, and you decided it means they don't like you. But you don't actually know any of that. You're guessing, and your guesses are creating your suffering. Practice responding to provocations with curiosity instead of judgment. When someone does something that would normally anger you, think, "That's interesting. I wonder why they did that." This small shift in perception creates massive space between the event and your reaction. In that space, you reclaim your power. This is the foundation. Master this habit, and you've already cut your anger in half. The world hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has completely transformed. The second habit is inserting a pause between stimulus and response. This is where you develop genuine self-control. Most people are on autopilot. Something happens and they react instantly. Someone says something offensive and the words are out of their mouth before they even think. They're operating on pure instinct, like animals responding to threats. But you're not an animal. You have a prefrontal cortex. You can choose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That power lives in the pause. It's the space between what happens to you and what you choose to do about it. Here's what makes this so powerful. In that split second before you react, you have the opportunity to ask yourself, will responding in anger serve me? Will it solve the problem? Will I be proud of this response tomorrow? Almost always the answer is no, but without the pause, you never get to ask those questions. Think of your anger as a wave. When something triggers you, the wave begins to rise. Most people ride that wave all the way to the crash, letting it carry them into reactions they'll regret. But you can learn to see the wave forming and choose not to ride it. You can let it rise and fall without ever boarding. Practice this deliberately. When you feel anger starting to build, physically pause. Take 3 deep breaths before you respond. Count to 10. Walk away for 5 minutes if you need to. It might feel awkward at first, but that awkwardness is a small price to pay for the freedom you're gaining. What you'll discover is that most provocations lose their power when you give them time. That comment that felt so insulting 5 minutes ago suddenly seems trivial. That situation that felt urgent now looks manageable. The pause doesn't just prevent bad reactions, it often reveals that no reaction is needed at all. This habit transforms you from reactive to responsive, and that transformation is everything. The third habit is ruthlessly distinguishing between what you can control and what you can't. This is perhaps the most fundamental Stoic practice, and it's absolutely essential for unshakability. Here's the hard truth. You can't control other people. You can't control circumstances. You can't control the past or guarantee the future. You can't even control your own emotions most of the time. What can you control? Your choices, your effort, your perspective, your character. That's it. Epictetus taught that all suffering comes from trying to control things outside your power. When you get angry because someone didn't behave the way you wanted, you're suffering because you're trying to control them. When you're stressed about outcomes, you're suffering because you're trying to control the future. When you're bothered by what people think of you, you're suffering because you're trying to control their perceptions. Stop it. Seriously, just stop trying to control things you have no power over. It's exhausting and it's the primary source of all your chaos. Instead, pour all your energy into the things you actually control. You can't control whether someone respects you, but you can control whether you act respectably. You can't control whether you get the promotion, but you can control the quality of your work. You can't control whether people like you, but you can control whether you like yourself. Here's how to practice this. Make 2 lists. In one column, write everything that's currently bothering you or making you angry. In the second column, mark whether each item is within your control or outside it. You'll be shocked at how much of your mental energy is going toward things in that second category. Now commit to this. Every time you catch yourself worrying about or being angry about something outside your control, immediately redirect that energy to something within your control. This isn't resignation. This is strategic focus. This is placing your power where it actually exists. Master this, and half your stress disappears overnight. The fourth habit is practicing negative visualization, and it's going to sound counterintuitive at first. The Stoics regularly imagined worst-case scenarios, not to be pessimistic, but to build emotional resilience and appreciation for what they had. Here's why this works. Most of your anger comes from unmet expectations. You expect people to be courteous, and when they're not, you're furious. You expect life to be fair, and when it isn't, you're devastated. You expect things to go smoothly, and when they don't, you fall apart. But what if you started each day by briefly imagining things going wrong? What if you spent 2 minutes considering that you might face difficult people today? That plans might fall through? That unexpected problems might arise? Not dwelling on these possibilities, just acknowledging them. Marcus Aurelius would wake up and remind himself, "Today I will encounter difficult people. I will face frustration and setbacks. This is inevitable." And because he'd already mentally prepared for these possibilities, they couldn't catch him off guard. When the difficult person appeared, he wasn't shocked or angry. He was ready. This practice also creates profound gratitude. When you regularly imagine losing the things you value, you stop taking them for granted. Imagine your car breaking down permanently. Suddenly you're grateful it still works. Imagine a loved one being gone. Suddenly you appreciate every moment with them. Imagine losing your health. Suddenly you're thankful for your ability to move and breathe. Try this tomorrow morning. Spend just 3 minutes imagining potential challenges you might face. Someone might be rude to you. Traffic might be terrible. You might receive bad news. Just acknowledge these possibilities without catastrophizing. Then, when these things actually happen, you won't be blindsided. You'll think, "Ah, yes, here's one of those possibilities I considered. I knew this might happen." And that simple recognition completely changes your emotional response. You're not being pessimistic, you're being prepared, and preparation is the antidote to being bothered. When you expect nothing, you can't be disappointed. When you prepare for challenges, they become expected rather than catastrophic. The fifth habit is practicing what the Stoics called the view from above. This is about zooming out and seeing your life, your problems, and your provocations from a cosmic perspective. When someone insults you or something goes wrong, it feels massive in that moment. It fills your entire field of vision. Your anger seems completely justified because this situation is everything right now. But it's not everything. It's barely anything. Marcus Aurelius would regularly imagine viewing the earth from space. From that perspective, he could see the Roman Empire as a tiny speck. His problems, which felt enormous in his daily life, became microscopic when viewed from above. The people who bothered him were just one of billions of humans living and dying on this spinning rock. This isn't about minimizing your feelings, it's about accurate perspective. That argument you had yesterday, in 1 week you'll barely remember it. In 1 year you'll have forgotten it entirely. In 10 years it will have never happened as far as your memory is concerned. So why are you giving it the power to ruin your day today? Here's the practice. When something bothers you, immediately zoom out. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Almost always the answer is no. Then ask, will this matter in 5 months? Still probably no. Will this matter in 5 days? At this point, you're starting to see how trivial most provocations actually are. Take it further. Imagine viewing this moment from space. See yourself as a tiny human on a tiny planet in a vast universe, getting upset about something that wouldn't even register from that perspective. Not to make yourself feel insignificant, but to right-size the situation. This practice instantly dissolves most anger. It's very difficult to stay furious when you realize that the thing bothering you is cosmically irrelevant. The universe doesn't care that someone was rude to you. Time will erase this moment completely. So why are you letting it have power over your present peace? Zoom out. Gain perspective, and watch your anger shrink to nothing. The sixth and final habit is embracing strategic solitude. This is about recognizing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remove yourself from situations and people that consistently disturb your peace. The Stoics valued relationships, but they also understood that not everyone deserves access to your energy. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." This isn't about being antisocial. It's about being intentional with your time and attention. You already know the people and situations that drain you. The friend who always brings drama. The family member who pushes your buttons. The environments that consistently make you angry. You keep engaging anyway, thinking you should be strong enough to handle it, believing that avoiding them means you've failed. But here's the truth. Choosing solitude isn't weakness. It's strategy. You're not obligated to subject yourself to consistent provocations just to prove you can handle them. Sometimes the most mature, powerful response is simply to not participate. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Your inner fortress requires periodic time alone to maintain its strength. When you're constantly engaged with external chaos, you never get the space to rebuild your defenses. Make solitude a regular practice. Schedule time alone where you're not consuming content, not engaging with others, not even thinking about your problems. Just being quiet with yourself. This isn't loneliness, it's intentional restoration. And when it comes to people who consistently bother you, you have permission to distance yourself. You don't need to announce it dramatically. You don't need to cut people off harshly. You simply stop making yourself available to situations that disturb your peace. You redirect your energy toward people who elevate you rather than drain you. This final habit completes your transformation. You've learned to control your perceptions, pause your reactions, focus on what you can control, prepare for challenges, maintain perspective, and protect your peace through strategic withdrawal. You're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You've become truly unshakable. These 6 habits are your bridge from chaos to calm, from being bothered by everything to being moved by nothing. The Stoics didn't discover these practices by accident. They were forged in the fire of real challenges, real provocations, and real suffering. But they worked then, and they work now. Your anger isn't permanent. Your tendency to be bothered isn't part of your personality. These are just patterns you've practiced, and patterns can be changed. Start today with just one habit. Practice shifting your perceptions. Insert a pause before you react. Focus on what you control. The transformation won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you're building that unshakable foundation. The world will keep trying to provoke you. Let it. You're no longer playing that game. You've mastered something far more powerful, yourself. If you're ready to stop being a puppet to your anger and become truly sovereign over your mind, leave a comment below, "I am unshakable," and hit that notification bell. This is just the first step in your journey to complete inner freedom. Thank you for being here. Stay calm, stay powerful.